of the full committee, Mr. Nadler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Irwin, according to reports, OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, is valued at $29 billion. And Stability AI, the company behind Stable Diffusion, was valued at around $1 billion late last year. By way of comparison, can you give us an idea of how much the average composer's salary would be?
It's very difficult to say because the way first of all, we're not governed by any kind of collective bargaining. We're not a union or anything like that, so we're very much independent contractors. It's easier to talk about ranges for television shows, an hour of television, a feature film. Those sort of budgets are easier to quantify, and then of course it comes into the experience of whether you're an entry-level person or a very experienced high-level person. All of those change the rates. And then of course on the back end, where we get our royalty streams, which is where a lot of us make our money, the performing royalties that are collected by the societies like ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC, they are dependent completely on the number of performances of those works that include your music. And that's the same for audiovisual and for streaming and everything. So it's very hard to say. You know, some years it's almost like a farmer. Some years you have a bumper crop. Next year you mightn't see much at all.
I see. And Mr. Sedlick, what about the average photographer? Same. What about the average photographer?
Salary.
The average salary. Use your mic.
I don't have statistics on that, Representative Nadler. However, many photographers make as little as $20,000 to $40,000 a year, and amounts greater than that outside of certain spaces can be unusual.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Irwin, can you talk a little more about what threats generative AI poses to composers and songwriters? What actions do you think we should take to ensure that your work in artistry is protected? Actually, you've talked about the threats. Can you talk?
Yeah, I can talk. Do you want to talk about the threat or do you want to talk about the solution?
I think you've talked about the threats.
Yeah, some of what's in my written testimony. One of the things that the music industry has done particularly well in this area is collective licensing. And they have, as I just mentioned, for ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, they have a way to monitor performances for mechanical royalties, which are the physical royalties, that you have sound exchange, and then there are streaming royalties as well through the Music Licensing Collective. And there are reciprocal organizations set up all over the world. So,
how would we apply that to OpenAI?
Well, I think you know, music is probably more easily applied to music than it possibly is to some of these other art forms, because every piece of music that's registered has a registration number, a work number, a recording number. Every artist has their own number. I have what's called an IPI number. Dan has one. So they're already in the system. You don't need to reinvent them. You just need to make sure that they are attributed to those works as they're being used or you know, logged, or however you want to.
How do you determine what works are used in generative AI?
Well, that's I think something that will need to be determined. I mean, I write music. I'm not a technologist.
Okay. Maybe Professor Callison Birch. Transparency in AI training models is a concern, but transparency to the end user that the media they are viewing was AI created is critical as well. I see that in your testimony you note that parts of it were composed using ChatGPT. Should some sort of disclosure like that be required? And currently, how are individuals alerted to the fact that they're hearing or viewing an AI-created work, if at all?
Thank you for the question. So disclosure of AI-generated works, I think, is valuable. I think, especially with their potential for societal harms through generating deep fakes or works that could be used to influence elections by mocking up instances like Trump being arrested in New York. I saw it being generated by Midjourney. Certainly disclosure.
Generating a fake speech by me.
I think that this is an important issue that touches on the output of generative AI systems, and that is where I think that regulation is deserved.
And how are individuals alerted to the fact that they're hearing or viewing an AI-created work, if at all?
I'm sorry, repeat the question, please.
How are individuals alerted to the fact that they are hearing or viewing an AI-created work, if at all?
There's a variety of technological devices that our field is innovating in order to mark AI-generated works, similar to a watermark on a stock photography site. This is not an established industry-wide practice, but it is something that our field has been discussing. At the moment, it's up to the user of the AI system who's generating it to disclose to people who they're transmitting that image to that it was generated.
Thank you. My time is well expired, and I thank the chairman for his indulgence.
Mr. Chairman, you gave me the similar indulgence when you sat in this chair, so I'm only returning the favor. I thank you.